Hi, I'm Mark, and I'm passionate about English. Okay, so this is going to be a little bit of an unusual lesson today. As you can see, I've got my back turned to you, and the reason for this is that this morning I had my back waxed, and I did ask them whether I could film it being done while the person was waxing my back. I only get this done maybe once every 6 months, but actually they said no. But today's lesson and the idioms are all connected with back. So if I show my back to you, hopefully that makes these idioms and other expressions more memorable to you. And something different. You've never been taught English by a back, I guess. Okay, one thing just to start off with the grammar, which I've said I'm not really going to teach grammar, but I said I had my back waxed, or I got my back waxed. So that means somebody did it for me. I didn't do it myself. Or I had my hair cut, or I got my hair cut. Again, it means somebody did it. If I did it, I could say I cut my hair, or I waxed my back. But of course, both these things are not so easy to do. Or, but something that is easy to do, for example, is I washed my car. And of course that means you did it yourself, but if somebody else did it, I got someone to wash my car. Okay, so that's quite a common mistake in English. People say I cut my hair, but actually they mean I had my hair cut. Okay, so let's have a look at some idioms with back. The first one is on my back. Of course, if it's the literal meaning is you are lying on your back. But if I said, my mother is always on my back about my goatee. I explained the goatee is kind of my little beard just in one area around my mouth. She doesn't like it, so she is often saying, I don't like it, or why don't you shave that off? So, and it's kind of annoying that she does this. So I could say she's always on my back about my goatee. So she's constantly asking me to do something or criticizing something. Okay. Next one, I'll be glad to see the back of him. Okay, maybe I'm working with somebody and we're not getting on very well, and the person's decided to go, or maybe not, but you could say, I'll be glad to see the back of him. It means I'm looking forward to when he goes, or if he actually definitely is, or sometime in the future. You could also say, I'll be glad to see the back of it. That's, of course, when something is coming to an end that you, maybe a project you're working on and you want it to end, and you say, I'll be glad to see the end of it, or I'll be glad to see the back of it, or I'll be glad or I'll be happy to see the back of it. Okay, next one, she stabbed me in the back. Okay, this is usually with somebody that you trust, and they do something to you that you didn't expect. So maybe, let's say at work, one of your friends or your colleague goes and tells you, and you like them, you trust them, and you tell them something, and then that person goes and tells your boss, and then it causes you some trouble, or something like that. So they do something bad to you, or say something bad, when you actually trusted them not to say that, or not to do something against you. Okay, stab, of course, is with a knife. When you actually put the knife in someone's back, if you're attacking someone. Okay, here's a nice expression, quite easy. You scratch my back, and I'll scratch yours. Okay, scratch, I'll do it. Okay, it simply means if you help me, I'll help you. So let's say Again, say at work, somebody asks you to help them with their project, and you say, okay, could you just do me a little favor? And the other person says, okay, you scratch my back and I'll scratch yours. You help me and I'll help you. We often use that. Okay, one we've already had, but just to remind you, if you know something or something like the back of your hand. So an example would be, okay, I've lived in Bournemouth for 13 years now, so I could say, I know Bournemouth like the back of my hand. It means I know it very, very well. We had that before. Okay, here's another one. Take a back seat. So this means it's talking about the back seat in a car, but the actual idiomatic meaning is when you don't contribute much or you don't take the lead. So let's say I was watching the program The Apprentice last night. Very good program, lots of useful English in that, and in August when I start giving you examples of what I'll be doing in my actual long lessons starting in September, probably we'll have a look at an episode of The Apprentice. I'll put it on Facebook from YouTube. Okay, but if someone's taking, maybe Lord Sugar, the guy who's deciding who gets fired, he says, actually, I think you're always taking a back seat. It means they are not contributing, they are not speaking out. Okay, and maybe another person in the boardroom. The boardroom is where the guy decides who gets fired, and maybe one of the people speaking to Lord Sugar says, "I'd bend over backwards to get the job or to get the money." I'd bend over backwards means I would do anything. Okay, or I will try as hard as I possibly can. Here's another one. Put your back into it. Okay, let's say I am chopping wood and with a friend, and he's trying to encourage me. And he says, come on, Mark, put your back into it. It means do it with more energy, more vigor. Okay, vigor is not such a common word, but it means, yeah, put more effort, put more energy, put your back into it. Okay, here's another one. I turn your back. So I turned my back on the opportunity. So maybe I had an opportunity or somebody offered me something and I said no, or I rejected it. I turned my back on it. Okay, you can, I think, unlike some idioms, you can kind of work some of these out, but it's very good if you can use them as well. Okay, here's another one. I've got my back up against the wall. This means you're in a difficult or a desperate situation. So, for example, in the Confederation Cup recently, Brazil were beating Spain 3-0, I think, near the end. And the commentator could have said, and maybe did say, about Spain, they've got their back, or they've got their backs up against the wall. So it means at 3-0 and maybe 10 minutes to go, it's a desperate situation. Okay. All right, back to front. I don't know if you remember in mini lesson number 21, I was doing it with Annabelle, and I was wearing her top and she was wearing my t-shirt, just for fun, from the previous lesson. But actually I made a mistake and I wore it back to front. So that means the front was at the back and the back was at the front. But what we say is back to front, but we don't say front to back. And you can also, similar to this, is inside out. So inside out, of course, is when the inside of your t-shirt is on the outside, and we call this inside out. And there is quite a famous textbook for learning English called Inside Out, which is very good. But if you say and the reason they've called the textbook Inside Out, you may be thinking, but the expression to know something inside out is to know something completely. Okay. All right, and then just a few other words with back. If you've got a backlog, okay, this means you've got a lot of stuff to do, and probably you haven't been doing it quickly enough. So someone asks you at work, are you coming to the meeting this afternoon? And you say, no, I've got such a backlog of things to do. Okay, another word is backstage. Backstage is often in a theatre or a concert. It's obviously behind the stage. But for example, if you might get lucky and get a backstage pass to a concert, that means you actually can watch from the side, or yes, and meet the people behind, the musicians and so on. Another one, you've got my backing. Okay, you ask somebody for their help or support or maybe I ask somebody to help me with my website and my mini lessons, and they say, okay, I like it, you've got my backing. It means you've got my support. I'll help you. Okay, another last one, it backfired. Okay, so let's think of an example quickly. Let's say I have this, what I think is a great idea. I decide to put some adverts on my website. And I think, that's quite a good idea. I might be able to get some money from the advertising. But as soon as I do it, I notice not so many people are going to my website or using it. So my idea backfired. It had kind of the opposite effect. I wanted it to make the website better, but actually it made it worse because people stopped looking at the website. Something like that. Okay, I have a joke for you today, and just one. So the joke is, it's to do with personal hygiene. Slightly connected with getting my back waxed. A couple have just got married, but they each have a terrible secret. He has smelly feet and she has bad breath. As they get ready for bed on their wedding night, he throws his socks in the bath and she sprays in her mouth some breath freshener. Once in bed, he decides to make a confession. Darling, I think there's something you should know. I have very smelly feet. I have a confession for you as well, says his wife. I think I know what it's going to be, said her husband. You've eaten my socks, haven't you? Okay, so this is quite funny. I think you can understand it. Breath freshener you can often buy to spray into your mouth to make your mouth smell better, your breath smell better. I don't think there's anything else I need to explain there with the words. But yes, I think you can understand that joke easily enough. Okay, so just to finish, I have a question for you. And bear in mind that this lesson is about, or the location is my back. So, the question, what do Ukraine girls do to Paul, and what do Moscow girls do to Paul in the song Back in the USSR? Okay, you'll need to check the lyrics for that on the internet. The reason I'm asking these questions is actually to encourage you to go on the internet and read the lyrics. And if it's not a question related to lyrics, then I would say, I think I asked when was John Lennon murdered, then much better that you go to a website in English, and then you might get interested and start reading more, rather than look up the answer in Spanish or Korean or whatever. Okay, and I believe that actually Paul played the drums on Back in the USSR, not Ringo. Okay, and the last thing for today's mini lesson is the hum. Okay, so here we go. Okay, I think that'll do. That's not so easy to hum, that one. Okay, so don't forget, if you answer every question and get every hum right in July, you can win the first course for free. And if this is the first mini lesson you've seen, I can just tell you they're not all like this. It's not my back. Sometimes I'm in the bath or down the beach or in a cemetery or in a restaurant, different places, just to make it a little bit more interesting. Okay, thank you very much and enjoy your day. Bye now.